Today I want to talk with you about why we get into property and some of the financial aspects around it and things around cash flow, capital growth. I'll touch on some compound interest, how it works for us. I'll touch on some gearing stuff, what you need to know about gearing, capital growth, you name it. So I'm going to explain this, and this is more so for my current students who are asking about this. But if you're not a student, listen up, because you're about to learn something as well in property and how it can work for you and make you very rich, make you very wealthy, and in the short term give you some cash flow to pay those bills. So here we go. So there are two types of strategies that we look at for property before we even look at the strategy of buying property. Number one, you need to have a short-term goal and you need to have a long-term goal. Your short-term goal should comprise of cash flow, because cash flow is going to pay your weekly bills, your monthly bills, keep you living whilst you look for those bigger deals, those bigger property deals. So on cash flow, your short-term game, how are we going to get money out of property quickly? And it's going to pay us every single month consistently over a number of years. So there are a few different ways. We're not going to exhaust all of them, but I'll tell you the main ones at the moment. So you can do a buy-to-let, which is a BTL, buy-to-let. So you'll buy a property and you'll rent it out. Now, let's touch on gearing while we're talking about this. So if you have £100,000 in your pocket right now, most don't, but let's say you do for the example, you can then go and buy a house for cash for £100,000. And that may give you a return of, I don't know, let's say £500 a month in rent. 500 big smackaroonies. That means that you've swapped £100,000 for £500 a month, and then there's costs that come out of that, costs of insurance, tax, and all those sort of things, right? So let's call that £6,000. No, what do we got there? Yeah, £6,000 a year. So you're looking at £6,000 a year from that. It ain't a lot of cash flow, because you've got a lot of stuff that comes out of that as well. You're probably left with 150 quid out of that each month, right? So you're swapping £100,000 to get back £150 a month. Now, over the long term, that property will increase in value. And the average is, if it's 100 grand, it's going to be worth, let's say, anywhere between £175,000 to £200,000 at the end of that 10 years, depending on the cycle, where you buy, where you're at, that type of thing. So you've swapped £100,000 to get back £75,000, let's call it, over the next 10 years, plus 150 quid a month, 1,500, 1,600, I don't know, rough figures 10, another 15k. So less than 100k. So you're not actually doubling your money, even with the income that you're getting coming in. And then there may be costs. You may have to replace a boiler. So for me, going out with your lump of money and buying one buy-to-let, that's a big cross. We don't do that. You can if you want to just sit back and have one property and you don't really care, that's fine. But that's nice. We're talking about professional property investing here today, okay? So with that £100,000, if you use the gearing, what you can do is with a 75% loan to value mortgage, which means you've got to put in 25% up front as a deposit, you can then buy, guess what, 4 houses at a value of £100,000. So you now have a portfolio of 4 properties that are currently worth on the market £400,000. That's what you're buying them for, whatever it might be. Let's not get into discounts and that type of stuff right now. So what you're getting there is in 10 years' time, you're going to have a portfolio that could be worth £800,000. It's doubled in value. You can then take the money out of that to cover the cost. So you've got your £400,000 covered. It's doubled in value. So in 10 years' time, net for net, you could own those properties. Good. And your income, obviously, you're going to get $2,000 a month, and that will go up each year, roughly 5% of your income, the rental income. And then you're going to have your costs out of that. So it's got to be a lot more income, but you're going to get a lot more capital growth at the end of it. Good. Now, we won't go into no money left in and that type of thing, but that's basic gearing. You're using your money and you're getting rental coming for it. There is a risk, and that risk is with gearing, obviously. The risk is that you won't be able to afford the mortgage. So you need to make sure, and most lenders make sure of this now anyway, that your rent covers more than what your mortgage is, and you need to make sure that the rent will also cover any possible spikes in interest rates and that type of stuff. So that's the basics there with gearing, buy-to-lets for cash flow. Yeah, it's okay, but not flash, right? Then we can get into what we call HMOs, or housing multiple occupancy. Now that means that you can turn a possible 4-bed property or 3-bed property into 5 or 6 bedrooms. There is a cost to it, obviously, but it means that you can now rent out the rooms and not the entire property, and it means that you can get more profit. So if you're getting £500 a month for the property at the moment, it's a 3-bed. You do some conversions, you turn it into a 5-bed, you get it licensed, that type of thing. It could be that you're getting £1,200 to £1,500 a month in profit from exactly the same footprint property, but you've changed the internals. Now, that's great, right? There's going to be more cost up front, but it may be that you get 2 or 3 properties instead of the 4 properties that we were talking about. But your cash flow is going to be, at least double, if not 2.5 to 3 times more. Awesome cash flow. Fantastic. Now, we've got HMOs, we run HMOs, and it's good, it's consistent. Now, the problems with, well, not problems, let's say the challenges with having a buy-to-let and having a HMO is that you have lovely little tenants. And tenants occasionally can refuse to pay, or it just means that they can't pay because they don't have the money. And they have a million excuses that come out of the woodwork as to why they won't, all sorts of stuff. People are people. So then another possible way of getting cash flow from property is what we call serviced accommodation. Now, serviced accommodation is using property to basically leverage, well, we're leveraging property and other people's property, if you do rent to rent, to actually provide a service to the public, because it is the service industry, service accommodation. Now, we've got properties in our area, and I've got students in all areas all over the UK, where in your peak times, we're making anywhere between £2,500 to £4,000 to £5,000 per month in profit from a 2-bed property, in most cases apartments. We also have period homes that have been fully renovated, have parking, especially in the central cities and that type of thing. These are the ones that get you £4,000 or £5,000 a month. It's just unbelievable. And the market it was going like this, and it's going to go up to here, exponential sort of curve, and we're probably about here at the moment. So we're heading up. So if you want to get into service accommodation, right there, now's the time. And if you want to learn about that, let us know, we can help you. If you want to learn about the other ones as well, feel free, we can help you with that if you're a little bit more passive, shall we say, a passive investor. But if you really want to make some money and some really good cash flow, 3 to 4 properties could average you out over the year £4,000 to £5,000 a month. Awesome stuff. Now, I run service accommodation with business partners, and they do most of the face-to-face work, and I do most of the the PC work, the stuff where I can work remotely, because I don't have time with what I do and other businesses that we have to keep running backwards and forwards to do check-ins, check-outs. Now, you can automate that business as well. Now, anyway, without getting too much into that, if you want to know about it, I'll put a link at the bottom. You can come and talk to us about getting into service accommodation. However, if you want to learn about HMOs, we can do that too. But I strongly, for the next at least 4 or 5 years, at least, if not more, you must get into and at least have a look at service accommodation for cash flow. So that's your short game taken care of. Then we get into what we call our long game. So once you have money that you have to cover your bills, and now you're getting what we call passive income. So in other words, you set something up once and it repeats, whether or not you have to put a little bit of work into it. It repeats. It keeps coming back month after month, year after year, that type of thing. Now, passive income can be a buy-to-let, an HMO, service accommodation, whatever ones you want to have there. Now, from there, you need to start investing the money, the disposable income that you have, not on holidays, not on fast cars, slow cars, men, women, whatever you want, houses that you live in. You want to make sure that you're investing your money so that money can then leverage other people's time and experience and knowledge and make you money in a true passive sense while you're off doing what you need to do. So it's another stream of income. So what do we do with the disposable income? Where do we spend that money? Now, there are a plethora of places that you can go to for a property strategy, whether it's buy to let, build to let, build to keep, buy to sell, do up properties, flip properties, commercial properties, conversions into residential from commercial, or perhaps residential into commercial, or split the two. You might have a commercial on the bottom, service accommodation on the top. There's loads and loads and loads of things, micro flats. It goes on and on and on. Land deals, buying land, pushing value into it by getting planning and then selling the planning on, or you might just do a quick sandwich lease, or you might do lease options. There's loads of things, purchase options, block outs, whatever. Now, the key is this is your long-term game. So you want to be investing and gearing that money that you're earning from your passive income. Now, that money we can then say to ourselves, right, let's invest that into buying 2 or 3 or 4 of our own properties, or let's get some finance to buy those properties. We will then finance the build or whatever it might be, or we can get 100% build because we've got properties that we can basically leverage against, whatever it might be. So let's say you go out and you get a property, and you say to yourself, right, let's keep this property because we want to build up a portfolio. Now, this is what we call increasing your income again, but also building upon your disposable income. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create some compound interest. So the house today is worth 100,000, again round figures. In 10 years time, the property might be worth double, but let's say the property goes up 5% every year on average. So your property today is worth 100,000. In a year, it's going to be worth £105,000. And then the year after that, let's say it goes up another 5%. So it's 5% on the 105,000, not on 100. So as you can see, once you get to, it starts like this, but then it shoots up like that. Once that gets to 200,000, and then your 5% a year is on your 200,000. So that's £10,000 a year that it's growing. Now, if you've got a multiple portfolio of, worth $1 million or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 million, compound interest year on year on year on year on year on year, and it just keeps going, is freaking awesome. It's money for old rope, as they say it. It is pure passive growth. And the income that you get from it is, rent these properties out as well. Compound interest or compounding is what makes people rich and wealthy beyond their dreams. They cannot spend the money fast enough because it's just going boom, 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 boom. It's amazing. So you must hold on to property to be able to realize that real compound effect. That compound effect is what will make you wealthy. If you buy a property for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you're compounding, it's just not long enough. You need a good 10 to 15 years to hold on to these, And in 10 to 15 years' time, you look at your bloody bank account, you look at your net property portfolio, and you'll think to yourself, bloody hell, you know what? I'm doing all right. And all I did is watch this 20-minute video from this half Australian geezer. So, good. That's how you make money from property, wealth. But you need to make sure you take care of your cash flow to start with. Now, don't start being all these sporadic maniacs who go and say, right, Ash, I'm doing my cash flow. You go and get a property. You're getting £1,000 a month because you're doing service accommodation. And then you get bored or you get pissed off or whatever. And you say, or you get these massive big eyes that are bigger than your stomach. And you think, I'm going to go and do a commercial to residential deal. There's a good course. I'm going to go and do that. I've been sucked right the frick in because they're telling me I can be a millionaire this time next year, Rodney. For 3-4% of you, you've got the ability to do that. For the fucking rest, listen up. Because it ain't going to happen for you. How do I know that? Because I see it and experience all the time. Do not listen to all the bollocks out there. Do not run up the front at a course and throw away your money because they've said this is amazing, that's amazing, woohoo! Because I can tell you, these are all techniques that they learn how to be in public speaking to get you to run up the front. And the reason they get the people up the back to run up the front, why? So that the people they pass, or the people at the front who are in the spit zone, and people at the front, normally the people who buy first, they want the people at the, or get the people at the front to run at the back, shall I say. So you get the people who are going to, they know are going to buy because they sit at the front like this. Please sir, I want to buy, I want to buy. They're going to buy a £10,000 mentorship if you say that you think they're shit. Because they're at the front, they love it, they're there. Oh yeah, yeah. Like a new kid in the class, oh, please sir. The reason they get you to run at the back, because people at the back who are a bit unsure, they then think, oh, they're going, I can join. I'll get in the crowd, bye. And they run to the back. And they tell you there's only 10 available. Well, fuck me, there's 50 people running up the back. 50. And then they come back again and they do another squeeze. And they get another 10 people run up. But still, 60 people, they're only taking on 20. So don't get sucked in. Learn property. Learn what it's about. Learn the finances. Learn about compounding. Learn about gearing. Once you understand how money is, how you finance property and how you use money in property and how you can use property to create wealth, you don't need to worry about too much else. Because I can tell you what, you can find anyone that will lay a bloody brick. You can go into an agent, you can find a property. You just need to learn how to do the numbers. Piece of cake. I'll show you this probably 2 or 3 hours. Give it a spreadsheet, show you how it's done. All of this experience is very, very simplistic. Very simplistic. Service accommodation is going to take you a lot longer to learn because you're learning a whole entire service industry. You're learning how to run a hotel. You're learning how to use channels and booking.com, how to take money, how to add money. But with a bloody property, to extend it or whatever, builders, mate, yeah, come on, come over, give us a quote, yep, good. Can we get VAT, can we get no VAT, whatever it is. Yep, I know the numbers, I've done the numbers. So yeah, just stick us a nice 2-bed extension on, or stick us a loft up, or, you know, knock it down, build another 2 houses, or there's land at the back, you know, you got access, yeah, let's build a house on the back. You've done the research, it's going to be a 2-bed, 3-bed, 4-bed because of the rental demand in the area is for either 2 or 3 or 4-bed. So you know from your demand, bang, that's the house we put on, boom, it's rented, no problem, demand is high. Property goes up in value, you're using your compounding, you're making money, you're gearing, you're an expert. Woohoo! It's not hard, honestly. It is not freaking rocket science. If you want to be a developer, then there's a lot more to learn. If you want to be the person who runs the freaking build. But, however, what you should be doing is getting a good builder who has a project management team. They do the whole lot. They do the whole lot. You get a fixed price agreement, get a contract in price. You know, they pay if they're late. You pay them if they're ahead of time. You know, give them some bonus to be ahead of time. So, I don't want to rant, but there's so much crap out there, honestly. You could be a millionaire in 12 months' time. Educate this, educate that. So, remember this. Number one, you need your short-term game. You need to know how to make cash flow from property every single month. You set it up once, boom, 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 boom. It becomes passive. Then from there, you need to say to yourself, what am I going to do with all this beautiful money that's now disposable sitting in the bank that's making me 1%, if I'm lucky, a year, and then I'm getting taxed on the bloody stuff. What am I going to do with it? Where am I going to invest it? Now, where you invest it depends on what property you build in a certain area, and it could be micro areas within your area, micro areas within your area that dictates what you build. You do not dictate what you're going to build. Your heart, your emotions do not dictate what you're going to build or what you're going to buy. The area, the market, the demands in the area dictate what you buy, what strategy you use in that area. Nothing else. Don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in to the commercial shit, buying stuff in the high street, because guess what? The high street is a-changing. You may not have a tenant in 2 to 5 years. You may not. So, high streets seem to be moving towards community hubs. You know, so think about that. There'll be a lot more flats and apartments built within high streets. There'll be, you know, mark my words, mark this in your calendar, whatever time it is today, whatever date, within 5 years' time, maybe a little bit longer, but it's going to start within the next 2 to 3, high streets will become a hub for the community. You might have a little park in there, little cafes, little nighttime bars. You know, there'll be a flower shop because people don't like to buy that shit on Amazon. They want to go smell it. There'll be coffee because they like to drink it and smell it. And they like to be around people. You know, there might still be the odd bedding shop, whatever they might be. But the likes of your Argos and your big clothing stores and that type of thing, make way because they're going to be gone. Why? Because you can buy it on here on the internet. Everything is on the internet. You can buy clothes and send it back and do it 100 times. Anyway, we're not here to talk about clothes. So that's my little bit about property and what you should be thinking about when you get started. You do not start property and think about bricks and mortar and putting a roof on. Don't think about that. Don't think about developing. Don't think about doing this and that and commercial to resi and bollocks and building flats and giant monstrosity buildings. Think firstly about what it is that you need in your big fat back pocket. Then from there, come to me. Say, Ash, I need this cash flow. I need this and I want to be worth this. I want to relieve this to my kids in 10 and 20 and 30 years time. I want to help family. I want to help people. I want to do everything I can. Where do I start? Because at the moment, a sweet FA. Let me know. We can have a chat. I'll put you on the right road, whether you work with us or not. I'm happy to help. So that's it for another session. I think we've gone to 24 minutes. It's been great sharing this with you. We will have more to follow. We get asked a lot to do videos like this. It's just finding the time. And, oh, it's only 24 minutes. But it's not the 24 minutes. It's actually making sure I'm here at home, make sure I've got the time to do it, putting some clothes on, you know, and then holding off appointments that I could be doing where I could be making money, etc. So we're dedicating this time to you. We're giving you a little bit of charity, so I hope that it helps. And remember, numbers, figures, income and how, and what you're going to do with it first. Then work out what strategy in property is going to help you. Thank you very much.